Right, hello. When the camera lighting looks alright, I'll start. It's a bit too bright at the moment. I wonder if it's just the colour of it. If I change it to the yeah, that's better, isn't it? It's more just the white colour that makes it look weird. So there you go, live stream. I've set it so you have to have been a subscriber for 7 days for this one, just so it's stops instant. People wanting to make weird accounts come on. So I'm just streaming a bit later today because obviously I was a bit busier earlier, so I thought I'll do it now rather than rush to do it earlier. So obviously most of the stuff in the news at the moment is still Afghanistan. I'll just double check that, but yeah, Johnson attacked on from all sides over Afghanistan, and Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani flees UAE with briefcases full of money, wasn't it? Suitcases full of dollars. Was it over $100 million he took with him in briefcases and had to throw some of it behind? He was so overloaded with briefcases of money. Right, hopefully some people are on soon. I've got the chat on, but it says there's 10 people on, but I can't see any chat messages yet. Oh, $100 million. Well done, you're the first comment. All right, Green Canna. Yeah, so $100 million. But yes, so Jacob, all right, South Wales Outdoors. So I didn't stream last night. I was originally planning to stream last night, but I was quite achy and tired last night. So it was just one of those nights where I had actually quite an early night last night. So that's why I didn't stream last night. Obviously, I'm on tonight because I've got a bit more energy tonight anyway. But I'm still a bit achy, but I suppose that's because I'm working quite a lot of days per week now. Go through most of lockdown, sitting around doing nothing, and then when you're back to work and all that, you're doing a lot more physical activity, and therefore I guess your body's not quite used to it when it starts to happen to do it all of a sudden. Right, MT? So today, other than that video, I've not really done much in way of anything interesting. I've just sat down and played video games as well as working for some of the day. That's cool, South Wales Outdoors. Yeah, it will keep changing colour every month. It will change to a different colour as well. Right, Shackleton? So, yeah, bring up what you want at the moment, because obviously I don't mind talking about the Afghan situation, because that's the most interesting thing at the moment. All right, Joshua? But I don't know if there's been that many new developments today compared to yesterday and the day before. When I did my last stream, was that when I went off, wasn't it, just as Biden came on to make excuses that, it's Trump's fault. Right, Chance, I'll try and explain it as well as I can remember it without reading it. He basically said it's Trump's fault because Trump said we had to leave. I extended the date, therefore that was a good thing for leaving. But I can't justify having Americans in Afghanistan, which again nobody was arguing with. We wanted to leave. We just wanted to leave properly. So basically, it was almost like, well, it's not my fault. He was basically saying the buck stops with me, but now I'm going to blame everybody else. Like, I'm going to blame the Afghans. I'm going to blame Trump. There's a air conditioner running, but that's the only thing that would be making a scratching sound. Right, Mike? It wouldn't even be a scratching sound. That's just a buzz. Oh, that's cool, Jacob. Yeah, it wasn't on there originally because I had scanned down to look at that. But yeah, so if it's on the Radius Scan site now, that's good. Right, Peach? But yeah, the YouTube thing seems to be doing it a lot less now. It still made me do it a few times, but it's not been... Let me just... Hang on a second. I'm just going to see if this helps. Is that any better or not? Because I've just moved the mic, but otherwise I have no idea what's doing it. What I could just do is see if the Windows sound things have changed with the mic, in case that's messing with it. So give me 1 minute, I'll go into the control panel. So sound, recording, properties. No, it's set to all its normal settings. So yeah, there's nothing different there. No, I have not opened a beer. I'm not drinking tonight, Mike. There is no beer down there. I've just got a glass of water. The only thing you've heard is me just doing stuff like that. So, no idea then, because it's not the aircon making that noise. I'll have to listen back when the stream's over, but nobody said anything to me today when I've talked to people on the mic that there was a weird noise. There shouldn't be anything making static at this end. I mean, I can turn my headset completely off, but I don't think that's going to make a difference because obviously you're not going to get a feedback loop where this is set up like that. I can hear the computer fan as well, just about in the background. That's weird. So the only thing I think it could possibly be then is some sort of feedback loop thing, but I don't know what that would be. Because there shouldn't be any audio coming out of this, and I don't have any tabs open with, like audio stuff playing. So, who knows? Computers, eh? So, let me look up what that one is, Stacy. NPC one. Oh, that looks pretty cool, but I've never seen any of those. Like actually sold on, like eBay, or at least not for reasonable prices. Yeah, and that's the thing, I didn't change the input gain at all, Peter, so no idea what was doing it. Yeah, it's been all right, Mike. So, walked the dogs earlier today, and I'm still a bit worn out at the moment from that, as in, I enjoy walking the dogs, but when you just feel a bit like sore muscle-wise, like a bit achy muscles, and I think it's just because I've gone from not doing much per week to now, working most days a week because most of the lockdown stuff's over. Because of the subject matter of it. That way YouTube can't say it's insensitive or whatever. But, yeah, so anyway, what was I getting to say? So, yeah, that's the only thing today is I've generally been pretty good. It's just I feel a bit achy muscle-wise, in some ways, but... Are you sure that NI63 doesn't just literally mean, just a serial number thing, or made in 1963 for the tube? Because I wouldn't imagine an actual Nixie tube could have anything radioactive in it, unless there's some sort of phosphor painted on it. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm hoping though within a day or two my body will actually get used to the fact that I'm now working 6 days a week as opposed to have barely been working at all because of coronavirus lockdowns, and it will start going, oh yeah, get back into the swing of things. Because at the moment, the other issue I think as well is sometimes when you fall asleep, I have the issue where I might twist around in my sleep into an uncomfortable angle, and because you're asleep for several hours in an uncomfortable angle, when you wake up, you then it's a bit like when you lay on your neck in a bad way. That's the interesting one. I did not know that. Yeah, very interesting. I don't think those are radioactive at all because I've never got a reading by having anything near them. I've got a blue snowball, not a blue Yeti. And there's no options with that. It's literally just the input volume. Fluzzy, yeah, it's just because today I had stuff on, so then I had a bit of a later dinner today, and then because I had a later dinner, I didn't want to come straight onto YouTube. All right, okay, Jacob, yep. But yeah, so I was going to stream yesterday, Fluzzy, and then I ended up feeling quite tired and a bit bruised last night. So because I felt like that, I thought I'd just have a really early night. Well, sadly, I'll need to have stuff that they can actually post to the UK South Wales Outdoors, because if it's collection person Kabul, it's going to be a bit difficult. But if any of the looted night vision gear and thermal scopes they end up selling, I'd definitely buy those. Right, Tyre? Have you left your GP5 out in the sunlight? It sounds like you've done that. Or you just had one that was defective. Yeah, I've already seen like listings they're doing of some of the stuff they've captured that they're selling. You know, like saying like what the mileage is on some of the captured vehicles as well. It's crazy. But again, that's what you get if you arm a like puppet, you know, nation that doesn't want to fight for you. Yeah, as for the person saying about the helmets on eBay, at the moment I can't really justify spending 50 odd pounds on a helmet because I've got really good helmets that I'd use if I needed to. At the moment, I'm more in a situation where I want to sell stuff and get rid of stuff rather than actually, you know, necessarily collect more stuff, or at least not, you know, collect it like on a 1-1 ratio. GP5s are all over eBay and everywhere. Yeah, it'd be interesting, Flazzy, wouldn't it? So, is Joe Biden the worst president in history? I am going to vote yes. And he's not even finished his term yet, but I don't know I can salvage it now. Because again, it's nobody here was trying to argue that, oh, you shouldn't leave Afghanistan. It was, you shouldn't just do such a piss poor job of pulling out. But, you know, maybe you wanted a remembrance of Saigon, you know. But yeah. It depends what they're made out of, Rocker. If they're the really basic ones that are just kind of like bleachy powder type stuff, then they're not really going to expire in practicality. But some of the ones with more like volatile stuff in, I guess, might. It's age restricted on purpose, Tyre, because you have to be really careful with YouTube strikes at the moment. So if you set a video to 18 plus, basically it just means that YouTube's not really gonna look at it in the same way. If we ever have them again, because bear in mind that a lot of airsoft type stuff doesn't seem to have resumed because of Corona. But there's nothing like that near me anyway. Like I've said before, that's the reason I don't do airsofting, like, you know, properly. Because if there was a site near me, I'd probably get more into it. But there's not. That's the problem. Yeah, but he's going to be up there, litter picker, isn't he? So one Canadian says they like him, and another Canadian says they don't like him because he cancelled a pipeline. That's a better argument for not liking him. I've got 3 of those Sturmgewehr 57 bayonets, yes. One of them's a gift for Weapon Collector. When I see him in person, I can give it him, and the other 2 I'm keeping. I don't know, Peter. You'd have to ask him. Because doesn't he refer to himself, or doesn't he refer to Kamala Harris as the president every now and again? It's interesting, Jacob, but yeah, you'd have to see. The thing is, though, Stacy, is again, if you just simply want to watch videos on YouTube, just make a fake account that basically be what everybody would say. Because the age restrictions don't really do anything. It's just for the sake of uploaders. You know, either your video is going to get hit by them occasionally, or as an uploader, you might choose to do it on very sensitive videos, just so you're kind of putting your channel at less risk. What do you mean? Could you see my vision? I'm not getting a bayonet out now. Yeah, well, that's the reason he didn't answer any questions, Flazzy, because if he had to go off his teleprompter, he'd have been screwed. Is that the one Ghost Jesus that's never been to Europe or whatever it is? When she was asked, has she been to the border wall? And she says, I've also not been to Europe or something. Yeah, and Reagan used to make funny Soviet jokes, so there was at least that litter picker. Like, the thing is with Reagan is, as much as a lot of people don't like Reagan, he's kind of a likable bloke, even if, a lot of people don't like his policies. All right, Peter on 82D. Yeah, but unfortunately, it always seems to be a bit of an old boys' club with all these things, Chance, where you never get a young person in one of those roles. Yeah, Ghost Jesus sounds like a very responsible politician, then, doesn't it? Oh, basically, I don't want to do my job, but pay me loads of taxpayers' money. Yeah, I might if I can be bothered to later. I might not seeing tonight. When I say later, I might mean tomorrow, or whatever. I might watch like a recap of a load of the UK Parliament stuff that went on today, involving Afghanistan, because obviously I was out for most of it working, and I didn't have any radio on or whatever when I was working. So, I mean, I suppose with the US, it's not going to collapse in the same way the USSR did, but it wouldn't surprise me in the US if you still get some states that try and secede. Um, I'll have to look that clip up, Litter Picker. I don't know that one. Yeah, Graveyard of Empires, exactly. I would say Jacob is definitely worse than Trump, because at least Trump, the enemies of the free world, are scared of him. Look at all the stuff that has been happening in the Middle East now that Trump's gone. Because the thing is, if I was like a person in any country, I would rather have a president or like a prime minister or whatever that was an embarrassment. So, like, let's say somebody like Boris. I'd rather have somebody like Boris who's a buffoon if it's actually good for you, like externally in the sense that other countries don't mess with you. Princess David, I haven't heard that one, but I have to probably watch a load of Reagan clips. Then. The thing that I found, really sort of crazy recently was the Taliban on their like PR department Twitter thing were making the point that apparently in Chicago of one of the weekends recently, more people that got shot than in Kabul the other day. I'm assuming with that comment, it's at the moment it's hidden that you really shouldn't throw words like that around. Again, that's why something else has just deleted your comment, because Nazi is National Socialist and essentially a racial National Socialist. Trump was not that. Again, just throwing the word Nazi around devalues it. It's basically like with communists and Nazis. It's like, oh, what's the worst possible ideology that murders millions of people? Fun fact: none of your US presidents, none of the UK prime ministers have ever been Nazis. Again, did he say things that offended people? Yes. Does that make him a Nazi? No. That's not what a Nazi is. Nazis didn't say mean things, they did mean things, and by mean things, genocide. Invaded half of Europe, started one of the worst wars in history, committed with the worst genocide in human history, and then, Trump said mean things. That's what the definition of Nazi is. Which one's a DP6? Oh, the Polish one's a DP66, isn't it? That one. For general purposes, the Polish one's better just because of the ranges of radiation it picks up. The CVV 700, I think, is a lot more iconic. But in terms of practicality, you'd probably like that more. DP5s are better than those as well, just in terms of being more robust. Oh, that exactly, Peter. The same thing with the Soviet Union. They were designed to fight a big war. They weren't designed to hold on to territory and not really, have any clear objectives when holding on to that territory. I'm all right. I'm a bit achy from, like I was saying to people earlier, because I've been, back to work quite regularly now compared to, where I wasn't doing much during lockdown. So now it's sort of, where you feel a bit, achy, muscly. But yeah, the thing is, though, nobody is ever going to win a war like Afghanistan if the idea is you go into a country that doesn't want you there and you don't really have a clear idea of what you're meant to be doing there. Because that's the problem that, like, every, nation seems to have in places like Afghanistan. It's like, well, why are we here? Oh, we don't really know. We'll keep coming up with a new, good PR sounding thing every couple of years. Civil war where, Noah? In the UK, definitely not. In most of Europe, no. Again, the Soviets would have been in Afghanistan even longer had Chernobyl and stuff like that not happened. Because obviously, bear in mind, the Soviet Union collapsed because of like a lot of big catastrophes for it all at the same time. I won't be on for a full hour tonight, Flazzy, just because I can say I'm already getting tired. If Mike's on Twitch in a bit, I might see if I can sort of sit up as long enough to chat for a bit with people on that. But again, I'm going to probably have quite an early night again tonight, just because, like I said, I'm up again early and going to work again early tomorrow. I'd like to, Flazzy, but it's the practicality of doing it. So I have to try and figure out if I can work out what I want to do it with and then get a chance to do it. Yeah, so as long as I don't feel really tired as soon as I stop streaming, Mike, I will definitely come on your stream, I think, for at least 30 minutes or so, but I reckon I'm not going to be, going to bed much later than 11 tonight. Right, Little Picker, I would have said what they should have done is worked out all the VIPs they had to get out, and like civilians and all that, and then basically prioritize getting those people out while under military guard, and then you pull your troops out last, essentially. They also was it Bagram Air Base, which was their big airfield, where they had loads of airfields that was all defensible. They shouldn't have got rid of that, because obviously if you're trying to evacuate people from a country, having a big airfield is really handy. Exactly. I know they were going to leave them some equipment, but yeah, they shouldn't have left them all the stuff they left them. It's like I said, it's not the fact that I think we should have left. I'm not one of the people arguing we should have stayed there. My point is that, it shouldn't have been like not think of what you're going to do until the Taliban are literally outside Kabul. No idea really, Arnold, because lots of history does seem to repeat itself, or it's just people don't learn from history. But again, when nations get too big and powerful, they're bound to fail eventually, aren't they? Well, apparently, it wasn't the weird thing that what was I going to say now? Something about the pull out, because wasn't the thing with Trump's deal that if they'd have basically pulled everybody out by the original withdrawal date, they could have basically done it without any interference. Yeah, exactly, Arnold. Well, I think the idea was don't do anything to do with pulling out and then literally just pull out. You know, it's that weird thing of, it's not something you do in a day, is it? That's the thing. It's you should have started thinking about getting people out earlier, and Biden was just like the other day, he's like, oh, they didn't want to leave. Not judging by the scenes we saw at the airport, I think they all did want to leave. Yeah, again, there'd be probably problems whatever you do, but this is just being like the worst possible way. It's more the execution of how it was done. The time frame and the execution. I reckon he's lying there, Litter Picker, because as we said, all the people that were flooding the airports and being murdered in their houses because the US didn't come to get them out. I'm pretty sure they'd have wanted to leave. Well, as we were already saying, what he was going to do. He said he'd have pulled out by a different day. And he'd also said basically like the Nixon thing to do with Vietnam, that if they attack while we're pulling out, we're going to hit them with everything we've got. And I think the thing is, where Biden basically just abandoned the Afghanis when he was being told every day, all the situation's getting worse, and then they won't take Kabul, they won't take Kabul, they won't take Kabul. Exactly, Ghost Jesus. This is what I'm saying. I don't know everything about the situation, but all I can say is it seems to be one of the worst possibly, pulled off things. Again, the thing is, the United States is designed, like most nations, for fighting conventional wars. Because the thing is, like, if you have a country like, the Soviet Union or the United States and Afghanistan, if they wanted to win, like full stop win, they could basically just genocide every living person in the country and then they'd have won. But nobody wants to do that, do they? And again, most people didn't want to go in the first place. It was, well, can they just go kill bin Laden and leave? But they decided not to do that. But do you know, Ghost Users, the problem is, weren't a lot of the people surrendering just getting executed anyway? And again, I know the whole thing is not going to be universal across the country, but yeah, the whole thing is just a shit show, is basically the answer for it. Because some of the Afghan special forces fight and died, it's just the regular army just ran away, essentially. Yeah, okay, like I've been saying early on stream, mostly good, although I'm a bit achy at the moment, just because I've gone from, not doing much work recently with, all the lockdown type stuff to suddenly be working almost about 6 days a week. I think this week I'm working. So, although it's not the same job every day of the week, but still it's, enough that you go from being like sedentary to just doing lots of stuff. Anyway, I'll be off in about 10 minutes, I reckon, because as I said, I'm not going to do a full-length stream tonight just because I'm already quite tired. All right, Rich? Oh, yeah. Again, there would never have been, should have been a situation like Saigon, should there, that, people are just swarming onto the planes. If it was done properly, you would check all the paperwork of the people and you'd evacuate them, over the course of like months, in a protected area. You wouldn't just have an airfield swarmed with people. Well, Arnold, maybe they should be charged with war crimes, but Blair never got charged with war crimes, did he, for Iraq and Afghanistan? Let me have a look at what that was. Oh, yeah, useless comment. Well, at the moment, Harry, is it Harry is not okay? Yeah. At the moment, they seem to basically be, as long as you're close enough to the Westerners that you're, it's bad PR to shoot you or whatever. They currently seem to be just letting the Americans and Britain evacuate people because it's better for them in the long run to do that than, like kill loads of people now and then face more repercussions. So, yeah, I think it's more that, if it was done properly, you would leave the soldiers till last and you evacuate the civilians first, obviously for the reason they're more vulnerable. But yeah, what a shit show, I think, is just the answer just the thing everybody's feeling, isn't it? Well, I think, Arnold, with reporters, it's up to the media to decide if they want to risk going to places or not. Because obviously ISIS killed the media people as well. And then ISIS got completely what they deserved by nearly every nation in the world deciding to bomb them. But again, now they've got control. They don't want to let too many foreign troops back in, do they? Because if they allowed loads and loads of NATO troops to come into Kabul, it'd be quite easy to just then shoot the Taliban, wouldn't it? And then put a ring of steel around Kabul. So again, that's why they're probably not going to do that. They want it at numbers where it's in everybody's interest for fighting to not start. Right, Nuclear Yorkshire. That's an easier name to read. Which empire do you think then is going to be next to try and take Afghanistan and fail? Although it might be 50 years' time before that happens. But well, at the moment, China's actually signing deals with the Taliban, as in Belt and Road type stuff. But yeah, in the future, if they get too cocky, maybe. I mean, the Soviets already were there. I don't think Russia wants to do it again, you know. But then again, saying that, Britain's been there twice, so you know. That's the thing, Arnold. Like we're saying, it depends where it is because they've occupied Hong Kong now. They've occupied Tibet. They've got their eyes on Taiwan, but yeah, I guess that litter picker. I mean, again, I'm certainly not the sort of person that's paid to figure out how to do these things, but there would be ways of doing it, or at least reducing the shit show we saw the other day. They've built lots of bases everywhere in countries that let them do it. Yeah, I suppose Iran is because Iran actually borders them, don't they? So I could understand that a bit more. But Yeah, I agree with you there, Irish Tom. That's much more likely, isn't it, than wanting to start a war there? It's much more likely that they're just going to basically say, yes, let's trade resources for building infrastructure or whatever, or selling you arms. Yeah, there's lots of things, but again, we don't know, do we, until something happens. Anyway, I'll be off now. Have a good evening. I'll hopefully be on a bit of Mike's stream tonight if I'm awake enough. But I should probably be on tomorrow as well at some point doing a stream, but it'll probably be earlier tomorrow because then I'll have a bit more energy to do it. Pakistan was funding them, Lonesome Toast. Loads of people were funding them, nations. Yeah, and exactly, Fuzzy. Some of the Arab, Emirate type states as well. Yes, Saudi Arabia, exactly. Right. Anyway, I'm off. Have a good evening, everybody.